I've been now on Wall Street for 20 years, and for the last 20 years, one of the topics I've been chief economist for most of that time, and with responsibilities for all of Latin America, and really nominally for all of the emerging markets. But one of the countries that always would get the most questions was Argentina, because it's a mystery, it's a quandary. You know, this country that when you go to a place like Buenos Aires, it's so sophisticated. You know, you see architecture like it belongs in Paris or Madrid. You see the population. It's also very sophisticated. I don't want to insult anybody to say it's one of the more intelligent ones or cultured ones, but it is. It's a wonderful place, and yet it's at the same time it's such a dysfunctional country. You know, so many crises and so many problems that are there. What makes it so dysfunctional? And so, you know, many people, you know, many Argentines have all sorts of theories for it. It's who colonized it, for example. You know, had the British colonized Argentina, Argentina would be more like Canada and the United States and Australia, but instead they were colonized by the Spanish, and so here they are. You know, they make comments like that. They say it's because of the type of immigration. Had the Anglo-Saxons and the Germans gone to Argentina, then it would be a completely different story. But it was the Italians, the Portuguese, and the Spanish who went there. Those are all very incomplete explanations, to tell you the truth. And one of the things I tried to get at is the dysfunctionality. What makes it such? And to me, I think there's a new area of the social sciences that is really starting to make a lot of inroads, and that's the importance of geography. And I wanted to take a look at Argentina's development from the geographical standpoint and perspective. And the thing is, if we take a look at Argentina, and this is a PowerPoint presentation that I prepared different, and I'm just going to kind of just go through it, not through it, but just highlight some of the stuff. The real objective of the colonies, the Spanish colonies, was the extraction of precious metals, mainly silver, although there was gold production as well. And in North America, it came out of the mines in Zacatecas in Mexico, and in South America, it came out of one mountain, which was Potosí, in what we call Bolivia today. Potosí was up here, okay? The rest of the colonies were really a backwater. It wasn't really important. And the unit of organization that was set up was the viceroyalty, with the aim and the objective of increasing and maintaining control over these mines. In order to try to get, let me see. Sorry. Oh. Anyway, in order to try to get the maximum amount of rents or income out of the mines, in addition to charging a 20% tax on the mining production, what the miners were forced to do is they had to buy all manufactured goods from registered agents. And so therefore there was embarkations of goods out of Seville, and it was floated over to Cartagena, to the Panama, not to the Panama Canal, to the Isthmus of Panama, taken over by land, and then re-embarked on ships, and then unloaded in either Lima or Callao or Arica, and then brought by mule all the way up to Potosí. By the time they got up there, the markup was about 30 times. And so the thing is that they had the money. They were the hedge fund managers of the 15th century, and they were more than willing to be able to spend that kind of money. But you couldn't get everything from official agents. You also had to get things like, basically consumable types of goods. And so, but given the fact that Potosí is so arid and so dry at such high altitude, they had to get those goods from other places. And those other places became industrial farms that were set up initially in northern Argentina and also in southern parts of Peru. Jujuy, Salta, Catamarca, Tucumán, Santiago del Estero, all of these really began to develop as industrial farms, really to provide goods to the miners. Now, the thing is that when they saw that they were paying 30 times markup for things like books, tobacco, clothing, high-level types of clothing, then what they realized was that these producers down here also had access to a river system. This is the Paraná River, that then emptied out into a huge estuary. Contraband ships, mainly English and Dutch and French, would float down the coast of South America, and they would sell their wares. And therefore, they could take those wares, float it up the river okay, and then sell it to the miners. The markup then was only 7 times versus 30 times. And so this became a win-win situation for everybody. So much silver came down this river that this river down here became known the River of Silver, River Plate, okay? And so much silver came through Argentina that then it became known as the Land of Silver, which is the name of Argentina. Thing is that over here there were 2 major rivers, the Paraná and the Uruguay River. By putting a city right here at the entrance, you created a toll booth. And this was the birth of Buenos Aires. Now, why is this important, besides some nice little fun facts, is because Argentina has always been a history of the struggle between Buenos Aires and the rest of the country. It is a country that's really insulated, because if we jump forward, okay, I call it the Golden Triangle. Most of the economic activity, even to this day in Argentina, is located from here, okay, this line that kind of goes from Buenos Aires over to Mendoza, north. All right, today I think it represents something like 80% of the country's population, 85% of the country's GDP. And the thing is that this area, which really has all of the economic activity, all of the votes as well, is landlocked. On one side you have the Andes Mountains, on the other side you have Brazil, Paraguay, and on the south you have the Pampas, which we always think of the Pampas as being a very fertile, lush land. The thing is, it was like the American Midwest by the early colonists. It was really almost called a desert. It was arid. It was inhospitable type of territory. Plus, you have a big indigenous population to the south as well. This makes the only exit of Argentina Buenos Aires, and so therefore, this is the struggle that the country has. For the first 50 years, the country fights a civil war. Okay, here it shows you the confluence. At the confluence of the 2 rivers, you then place Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is actually a very bad port. The much better port is Montevideo. But the thing is, Montevideo is further away from the confluence of the 2 rivers, and so it wasn't as useful as a toll booth. That toll booth became the customs house. And so for the first 50 years of the country's history, you have this fight, this ongoing struggle between then the power of Buenos Aires and the power of the provinces. And they fight these very, very vicious types of battles and wars. And then each time the provinces would win, but then what Buenos Aires would end up doing was end up then picking off the individual provinces and then regaining power again. The final battle is the Battle of Pavón, where in 1853, then Buenos Aires really wins the war and loses the war. What happens is you get this kind of equilibrium type situation where the provinces and Buenos Aires come up with a scheme called co-participation. And what they agree is that all the money that comes in through the customs house, all the money that comes in through the customs house is then redistributed among the provinces. And so therefore this became probably the most important essential element for then the stability, the political stability of the country. And every time you kind of try to play with that co-participation, then you lead to social and political unrest. If you take a look then going forward, you still see the elements of the primacy of Buenos Aires. Here you have the railroad system. It all leads to Buenos Aires. It's an incredible situation. You see a country with such a long coastline, and it has no other port. There's one other port, Bahia Blanca, which is an important industrial port, but it's really not a port in the same sense like Buenos Aires is. And the country, Buenos Aires has always been very jealous to that access to the sea. It's always kind of prevented the development of riverine ports in order to try to access the market, because they always want to keep the control over the customs. I don't know if this shows it very well, but again, the road system, the electricity grid, and I had another one which showed the population, and you always see this concentration of power in Buenos Aires. In the book, I even make the argument that Peronism is just a variation of this. It is really a political reflection of the concentration of power in Buenos Aires, and this is what still goes on today. Nobody kind of exemplifies Peronism or the primacy of Buenos Aires over the rest of the provinces than the Kirchner family. Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner and her husband really did that to a very important degree. They concentrated more power. Already, because of the economic crisis in 2001 and 2002, a lot of the co-participation schemes had been watered down and then centered more of the resources in Buenos Aires.